Okay. My name is Derek. It is easier to pronounce than Dariusz, I suppose, especially when I first speak. And I would like to speak about skills, competences, new technologies, and trends. Sometimes there is a concatenation, and sometimes there is or between these notions. And I would like to cover with this purpose a few areas, trying to avoid speaking obvious things. You will tell me if this is if I succeed. So for first, digitization. Some sources say that digitization is the fact of digital analog conversion, and digitalization is the whole process. Well, believe it or not, I will cover digitization. So maybe this is obvious that a person that is doing scanning has to have some closer. Oh, I suppose there was a reverse. Okay, I intentionally went back. Anyway, a scanning person, in English it's called scanner as well, but it is inappropriate, I suppose, should have an obvious ability to properly handle fragile items, but also the ability to operate different, complicated, and also fragile and expensive equipment devices, and also understanding scanning parameters, such as an ability to impose them on a scanner, and ability to work with different graphic programs, because they are sometimes post-production after scanning is done. Then understanding differences between loss and lossless compression, vector or raster image. Then understanding properties of different file formats, where is the vector, where is the raster, and so on. Understanding the aim and importance of calibration and ability to perform it. Ability to detect and react on typical errors of reproduction, glares, calibration drift, and at the end, attention to details. What is the digitization trend in time? Where there were? Oh, there were in the past some other kinds of scanners, then flatbeds and planetary or overhead scanners, and now they're here phones. And of course, it is provocation. The smartphone camera is not recommended scanning device. However, this is the real-life example. If you're in the archive of the organization that is not willing to digitize its collections, but you are allowed to allowed access to some precious originals, and somebody agreed that you just shoot some pictures with your phone, do it, because maybe this is the last and only time that these assets will be visible for anybody else before they die. So do it with care. So you should position lens of the smartphone centrally, optimize lighting, using what you have in hand, maybe the light of sun from the window, or avoid fluorescent lamps, because it will be difficult to correct colors then. Think ahead and take with you the color target and place it, of course, in the image. Try to stabilize the phone by putting it on something. Sometimes there is lamp, something that you should avoid keeping the camera in hand. This is a special situation, not typical, however sometimes the only one. Also, flatbed scanner, they evolved from the time that they were the only ones, and nowadays some of them have quite a good parameters, and they may be the only solution if this is their remote collection. There is hard to send their planetary scanner, and there are obstacles to bring collection to your digitization lab. Select then the scanner carefully. Check it before you buy, check the color correction, lighting, repeatability, and so on and so on. And at the end, you have you are planning planetary scanner. So among different things that you can think about it before buying is that producers usually put to the bundle with the scanner as many software as they can at small cost. So usually, maybe not always, this software is very cheap and useless. Sometimes it covers parts of your workflow, which is usually in big organizations that are willing to buy such a big scanner covered by the system. Sometimes it has onboard OCR, usually poor. So, okay, but it is good if you have only one scanner and no system, but don't consider it as a decision changing if to buy the scanner or no. And sometimes producers add something useful. For example, AI is here mentioned many times. AI supported automatic merging of multi-part large images. If the item doesn't fit the scanning area, we sometimes divide the item, of course, but divide the scanning procedure into some parts and scanning fragments. And in our case, usually it was done by the camera, by the DSLR, and then the operator carefully connected the parts together to have the whole picture, and it is very time-consuming. Nowadays we have seen the scanner that is doing it automatically. Of course, again, verify it. Look at it at different cases at the beginning before you trust the software, whether it is AI or not. Then at the end, you are trying to buy this planetary scanner. Verify what producer writes about it. There are many. There are many parameters, but some of them are usually missed. Check geometry. Some assume that it is such a good scanner with overhead lens that it works perfectly. It doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. My colleague did check making prints with points exactly pointed on the paper, and not only that they were shifted, and they were shifted every scan, so they moved. Check the lighting and uniformity. Also, we have such a case that the scanner had two lighting systems, linear, that should be perfect lighting, but not. If you consider line of light, it produces light in every direction. So in the center, the original gains more light. So it is not so easy. Check the light stability. Even today, when the source is usually LED, it gets warm with time. So, and it is semiconductor. Semiconductor is usually fragile and influenced by temperature. So it may, and LED light shifts in the spectrum with the temperature. Sometimes dangerously, but it is the case of very low temperature. In the frost, laser that is visible may become ultraviolet. That's different. And check vibration, especially in automated scanners. This is a repeatability case that is very strong in automatic scanners. And of course, many more obvious parameters. If you need advice or just want to have a oral discussion about them, please contact me. I'll be more than glad to do that. During digitization, there should be, if there are colors, if there are valuable items, there should be a color target. And there was a software on the market that was useful for automatic verification of target, but because of some business cases it disappeared. And now we in the project as National Library as a partner are preparing publicly available software. You can make a picture of the address. It is now in testing phase. However, it works already. Make use of it. It has a lot of supported targets. Now the area of data processing. What I understand by data processing. If we have the repository, it covers the input of data from digitization, sometimes supports workflow of digitization, and also income for digital. Then it performs data processing, about which we'll talk in a minute, and long-time presentation. Then it goes with the ready-made preview copies to digital library, and usually makes available open API. What a digital librarian, the repository operator, should have a skill and knowledge, should know the copyright law, because he will decide whether to publish something or no. Should have a knowledge of cataloging rules, because sometimes he will encounter errors, or sometimes he will have to make changes because of different point of view on digital subject than on the analog one. Should fluently use cataloging software. Should proficiently use digital repository system, and should quickly search for information on the internet. So we have a trend about data processing. We have, at the beginning, everything was on one computer. Then we have moved into servers, and now this AI is doing everything. Of course, there's again the smile signs that it is not exactly like on the picture, because AI is on the servers. We have still PCs to contact it. However, AI operator skills and competences, we have been talking about it 2 days and haven't still finished, but we may say they depend on the area and the way do you want to use AI. For instance, it can be limited to switching it on. This is the example of Florian Psalter, if I'm correct in English, one of our highlights of our collections. And usually when we have nowadays publications or even old prints, we perform the OCR. So for people with with problems with seeing, we have a proper software that will aid them. And there is a problem with manuscripts. So we have performed an experiment with GPT chat. What says GPT chat about the image you've seen? This image shows an illuminated page of a manuscript, likely a medieval psalter, our collection, characterized by rich ornamentation and text written in Gothic minuscule. In the top left corner, there's a large ornate initial B, filled with a sand depicting a seated figure. The text is written in 2 columns using Gothic minuscule with colorful initials. There are floral ornaments, there are angels, and so on. Of course, the professional dealing with manuscripts will do more, but I suppose that this description is fully enough for a person that just wants to experience what is it about. Going into enlargement, the first row, bless the man. It is already at once transferred into the language that is operating, so it is in English, blessed in the man. Moreover, the GPT chat found that this fragment of sound, so connected it, found the environment that is text as. So a common tool, generic tool, not specialized, produces very good results that and doesn't require nothing, no knowledge about artificial intelligence to use. Just switch it on, put the original, gain result, put it into the database. Then the area of long-time preservation. What skills are needed? Skill is to live forever, and competence is to be a prophet. Because you're aiming the future, possibly the future that is above your lifespan. So, what to do? Well then, joking is joking, but the tendency is now to understand that the problems brought by long-time preservation are mainly organizational, then financing, and then at the end IT. Because at the beginning everybody was searching for data carrier that would be enough have enough longevity that would keep it for a long time. Well, we now know it is not the correct idea. Of course, we suppose that it should not disappear in a moment, but the heaviness of long-time preservation is located in organization. The basics for it, to think about it, are defined in Open Archival Information System, which is the ISO standard. However, if you look for the ISO standard, you will have to pay over 200 euros. Instead, if you use this link that I put here, it is available publicly. Strange thing, but it is legal. Well, it is the organization that prepared this document. And beneath there are two standards that are mainly used for organizing information about long preservation. Among them, preservation metadata, which will talk about a few minutes later. And these standards are very, let's say, general. They form the basis. You don't have any straight advice from them. So, in practice, we need some documents that will not necessarily more, because these documents have details, but they are very widely taking the subject. And we need some practical advice, and we need also interoperability. Usually we are used to using interoperability while presentation. Perhaps every digital library should have open API and so on. But what for interoperable archive? Well, for first, modern long-time preservation speaks about definition of it. It speaks about long-time access. So it is intentionally underlined. But also look at it from this perspective. For example, being a national library, you think, well, my institution will live comparably long to the need to access of these documents. If the National Library disappears, perhaps there will be nobody to read these documents. Well, this is the assumption, but maybe not so wrong. Well, but if we would ask people from national libraries of southern neighbors of neighbor countries of Hungary, they will tell something different. They are not the successors of their own libraries, but of many different collections. Well, these are documents that go into more detail, and these documents are the effect of a European Union project, and they also provide interoperability. Please look at these notions. They are just from the OAIs, but they go into more details. What is competences for long time preservation? Natural tendency is to preserve all who will read it, and really not long ago it was the answer was maybe nobody, and now of course I will read it and select for us. However, remember that it is no longer a search, it's a choice done by two factors. One, the people that train the system, and second, the deterministic house, that is a rule of working of AI. Then natural tendency looked at from the financial point of view is to preserve all because it's cheap, it's affordable. We may, the carriers are now not expensive now, but in 10 years, in 15 years, well, they will be even cheaper. However, what is your tool to persuade a future decision makers that it is worth keeping all your assets? It's the appraisal. Define rules which justify putting your assets into archive and assign them to the items that are stored in the archive, so that the future generations may decide what is still important for them and whether to keep it. Long-time preservation trends in the area of IT, where we have floppies, we have CDs, now we have cloud. What is cloud? This is someone else's device, same as ours. I have a colleague that moved into cloud, and after getting to know with the guys from the field that provided the cloud, because he resigned from tape libraries, instead putting his assets to cloud, and after a few months of good cooperation, he asked, "Where do you keep our assets?" And they answered, "On tape libraries." So, okay, he moved. Okay, of course, buying perspective is different. Please analyze security, because there are many cases that just because small movement in small change in the software, you pay 10 times that you calculated for 100 times more. So review the security, because okay, you will be paid the insurance, but what is for a cultural institution the money for insurance? It is useless. We lost something important. So the competences should be in between or together IT and law. And the trends, very interesting plot of the falling number of media shipments in WTO and the growing capacity sold. And it shows that tape is alive, in spite of some rumors. And we say it will be in 2 years 100 times more capable, because the hard drive now reached such a density. However, hard drive is the record is made on a very much more stable basis, so it is discussable. It is not for sure. And hard drives are, of course, selling capacity of hard drives is going, but there is a tendency that the amount of rotating disks is giving place to SSDs, and from the long time preservation point of view, this is not the same. So, okay, use it, but redefine your assumptions, redefine the workflow of preservation. I suppose I'm over time, so please use this QR code to contact me. Thank you very much.